So Chainlink had been hinting at impending upward action, and Chainlink has delivered along with the rest of the crypto space. It's looking like we have at least 3 waves up. As a matter of fact, we may be in the middle of a 3rd wave up off our lows on February 24th. We had what we're calling a 5-wave impulse up. That is marked with this 1 right here in square brackets. We had a relatively deep wave 2, but nothing too concerning. And then since then, we have nested 1, 2, possibly a nested 3rd wave within the 3rd, and we are presumably completing a larger 3rd wave. Where do I expect us to go? We may be in some kind of a consolidation at this moment. We're seeing a bit of a pullback, a little bit of a breather across the rest of the cryptos. And Chainlink, to be honest, has not rallied as impressively as many of the other altcoins have, but that's not really something to be too concerned about because it's doing everything it needs to do, textbook. If I were to pick a target for where we need to get, I'd say between 1850 and 1954 should be the top of this stretch. And then eventually I'd like us to rally pretty high, possibly have some extensions. And the reason for that is on the big picture, we got some ground to make up. So this is the big picture logarithmic daily chart for Chainlink. And as you can see, we are presumably done with our correction. We have MACD divergences in place. So look at that MACD. It's been going up even with the falling price. And we have a sapling, I guess. We got some green vines growing here with some positive candles. We clearly have 3 waves up here. It's not 5 waves yet, but this is how, well, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to have 3 waves before you can have 5. Now, we do have a chance we swing back down. The lower low is still on the chart. We haven't validated that yet, and we won't for a while. We need to rally a good bit higher, have a corrective pullback, and then rally through the top. So that's going to stay, if for nothing else, for academic reasons, but we always want to have an alternate pattern. That's what a good Elliott analysis will have, because you have to be prepared and know the signs when your bullish thesis breaks down. So therefore, this red pattern will remain. Now, where do we expect to go in our first subwave? We got to look at the history. So before I can answer the question as to why I expect us to go a little higher in our smaller first wave, I'm going to review the big picture pattern. I don't know what I clicked on right there, but all right. So when I zoom out, Chainlink is one of the younger cryptos, one of the younger altcoins. So we don't have a huge amount of history. But what history we do have gives us a very robust pattern. It follows our Fibonacci sequences very well, all the Elliott wave standards. If this is a 1, 2, assuming that this is the low here, this is kind of hypothetical, kind of theoretical, but assuming that's the case, we hit our 1/3 of a 1/3, we got the bigger 1/3, and then we hit the 1.764 extension. Whether this is really the 1, 2 or the 1, 2 is actually here or here, it's up for debate. You don't know because we don't have enough history to go back, but this more or less aligns with what we're seeing in other cryptos. We had our blow off top in early 2018. So we've got go here. Looks impulsive, doesn't look like a corrective wave. You don't see a clear, high A wave, a sharp B wave pullback, and a final C. It looks impulsive. The only concern we have on the big picture is that our retrace so far has been quite shallow. We expect more of a retrace than this in a second wave. And when we look at the entire length of this correction, as a matter of fact, this should actually count from this bottom here. So if we do that, whoops, we haven't even retraced 23.6% of the original peak. Actually, we may have hit that on our last pullback. There we go, up to that. So we went a little deeper than 23.6%. That might be all we get. So the concern is that we're not done with the correction. We would go deeper. Again, ideally, you go down to 38.2% retrace minimum on a second wave. So that would have put us at about $5. Not happening so far. It looks more like a 4th wave, but it could also be a strong sign that the sentiment is so strong that we can't pull back any lower. So this looks like a clear flat correction, maybe a zigzag, not much difference in this case. And it looks a lot like the 4th wave flats that you see in a lot of the other coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum. And if I had to give this clue, well, not a clue, but a perspective, we have something called the theory, the rule of alternation in Elliott wave theory. So if we have a shallow second wave, our 4th wave later on may be really deep. Typically, you have a deep second wave and a shallow 4th wave. So just something to look out for further in the future. It's not something to worry about right now. Now, why do I want to see a more powerful rally? Well, if this really was a 1, 2, our first subwave for the next leg of the race, it is a race, the next leg of the rally should get us to at least the 0.32 extension of the existing 1, 2. So that would put us at about $104. And when you zoom up, again, this is based on this entire thing being a 1, 2. So that's what that green blue box is for. $104 is a long way up from here. So we've started out kind of slow. And unlike many of the other altcoins I cover, we don't typically see those delayed blow-off rallies like you do in something like Ethereum Classic or EOS or Stellar Lumens. It's relatively linear, relatively speaking. For a crypto, it's relatively predictable, not too much whipsaw. You don't have big procrastinated blow-offs, nothing like that. So it makes me a little concerned that we're not seeing more action up front. So I hope we don't fall a little short, but in order for us to project into this box, well, we need a bigger subwave one. So therefore, anything we can get on this initial rally would be good, preferably over $20. Hell, take this up to $23, $24, $25 just on the subwave one. That would do a lot for us to make this rally more of a, well, bring it to fruition. And if I want to be a bit more conservative, let's go up to, let's say our first wave gets to about $25, $26, and we have a relatively shallow second wave retrace. If we get that, we only project to about $80. So we may have maybe a truncated first wave. Doesn't mean we can't extend later, but for a lot of reasons to make this entire puzzle fit together, to get us into this box, to get us our standard extensions, I would really like us to start rallying more strongly in Chainlink. Now, the potential is quite spectacular, especially the long term. Unlike a lot of other cryptos, this is a second wave based on the charts. It may or may not be, but if this is a second wave, we're entering a third wave. So we have a lot of room overhead. That rally to over $100, anywhere from $100 to $400, that would just be the first wave of a much larger third wave. And what do I mean by much larger third wave? Well, third waves will typically get to anywhere from the 1.32 to the 1.61 extension. These numbers are absurd. So just to be more realistic, our next fib up from where we are right now would probably take us around, let's see, maybe $3,700. It's a long way up. Again, we have a lot to prove before we're there. Now, here's an alternate thought. I don't think I've ever presented on Chainlink. There is a chance that maybe this was actually a third wave top, and well, it fit our Fibonacci's perfectly because in theory, this origin point, I just use a 30.2% equivalence to make this thing work. Perhaps our sentiment would actually start here, and maybe that was a 38.2% retrace. If that's the case, this would more realistically be the middle of a third wave potentially, and our fibs overhead would target a little bit differently, maybe 2/3 into 794 for the ultimate top. I'm gonna have to digest this a little bit. So for now, I'm gonna leave it as is. But it's a strong possibility because we don't have a history of sharp retraces in Chainlink. So there's a chance that this is just a 61.8% retrace, that this is actually a third wave. And based on that, if this is a third wave and this consolidation was a fourth wave, then the top of this box would probably be the ultimate top, which is not a bad thing. That would mean that that is the final top, and we're going to have a very spectacular second wave pullback. So let's see how this thing shapes up in the short term, bullish, intermediate term, bullish. Let's see where we get. We might have some channel trend lines on our next update to give us more of an idea of timing. But overall, generally for timing, I try to follow Bitcoin and Ethereum. Sometimes you can draw trend channel lines on those. Some of the cryptos are going to be following diagonal patterns, big picture, like Bitcoin Cash, like Litecoin, Ethereum Classic. You can generally draw a channel trend line for those. In addition to that, I'm going to point out that I believe Ethereum and Bitcoin are following at least a diagonal pattern for their fifth wave. So just to give you guys more context, this is, again, the daily chart for Ethereum. Considering that this was the bottom, the ultimate bottom, the 2020 crash, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 in place, and we're finishing our fifth wave. That would tell us that we're going to finish our fifth wave in ending diagonal fashion, potentially. So what that means is that you'd have a kind of looks kind of like this. You have a first wave, deep second wave, third wave, deep fourth wave, and your fifth wave finish would be somewhere around here. Generally, that would give us a very clear trend channel, which is what I have drawn here. That would mean that our third wave, our intermediate top target, would fall somewhere in later this year, maybe November. That's where I'm targeting, fall of 2022. Our eventual final blow-off top would fall a little bit further out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put this on a weekly view to give you guys more of a clue. Holy cow, that is a mess. And forgive me ahead of time, this may be a little distorted. This is showing about February of 2024. So again, very approximate indications of where we might go. So basically, if that is the top, we may see some slower rallying in Chainlink compared to other cryptos, but that gives you an idea of how much space, how much time we got overhead. We're rallying very nicely now, but we may have some boring consolidations, things like that, just the nature of a bull market. So I'm going to have plenty more updates on Chainlink as well as other altcoins and education. Subscribe so that you don't miss those, because there's a lot of excitement ahead in the crypto space overall. It's far from dead. and it may play a key role in preserving your wealth in the future when we hit our multi-decade cyclical high in all the markets and maybe entering a large bear market across many asset classes. So if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.